The arm of the law. The whole thing started with a thump. A huge coffin-shaped box made of cheap plywood landed right in the middle of our police station. A big trucker dropped it there without even looking back. "Hey!" I shouted. "What's that?" "How should I know?" he yelled, already climbing into his cab. "Came on the morning shuttle from Earth. I just deliver. I don't X-ray 'em." Then he blasted off, throwing a cloud of red Martian dust straight into my face. Chief Craig came out of his office, brushing dust off his sleeves. "Think it's a bomb?" he asked, sounding almost bored. "Why would anyone ship a bomb all the way from Earth?" I snapped. But there was no sender address and no explanation, so he grabbed a crowbar and cracked it open. Inside lay a robot. Tall, shiny, and painted navy blue like a police uniform. A little too perfect, actually. If someone had built a toy cup for children, it would look exactly like this. Then the robot's eyes lit up. I swallowed. Get out of the box?" The robot jumped out, smooth and fast, and landed in front of me with a crisp salute. "Police experimental robot, serial number XPO 456934B, reporting for duty, sir." He looked like a rookie cop on his first day, excited, stiff, and trying far too hard. So of course I said, "Relax, Ned." I don't know why I chose that name, but it stuck. Chief Craig took a letter out of the box. "United Robotics wants us to test him," he read. "Latest experimental model. Value 120,000 credits." We looked at Ned, then at each other. Honestly, we both wished the money had come instead. Still, Ned seemed harmless enough. I tested him with the most complicated order I could think of. "There's a broom behind the door. Sweep the room. Gently." He swept the floor like a professional cleaning machine and kept sweeping for the rest of the week. He also filed papers, organized the chief's office, and polished everything until the station looked cleaner than a hospital. We got used to him. We shouldn't have. Because one night the chief got a call. Greenback's liquor store had just been robbed, and the chief, who hated leaving his chair, tried to hand the job to me. I grabbed my cap. "Fine, watch the front desk until I get back." "No way," he moaned. "I'm starving." "I will take the report," Ned said calmly. That was when the chief finally discovered Ned could not only sweep, but also quote police regulations, all of them from memory. After 30 seconds of robotic legal lecture, the chief snapped, "Fine, go." And Ned left, just like that. A minute later, the phone rang again. Greenback's delivery boy whispering from under a table. "The holdup is still happening. Where are you?" I ran for the car. If the chief had known the robbery was still in progress, he'd never have sent anyone, especially not Ned. If Ned reached the store first, anything could happen. And if anything went wrong, it would be our fault. By the time I got there, Ned was already walking through the door. The two robbers panicked. Guns came up. I threw myself to the floor. Ned didn't flinch. "Drop your guns! You are under arrest!" He said it so loudly the windows shook, then shattered as bullets flew everywhere. A couple hit Ned, but he simply lowered a small metal shield over his eyes and moved. Fast. In seconds, he had one robber in an arm lock and the other knocked out cold. Then, as calmly as if he were closing a file drawer, he cuffed them both. I finished the arrest, so Greenback only saw me doing the job. Just as well, the place looked like a tornado had fought a whiskey bottle and lost. Back at the station, the chief went white. Not because of the robbery, because Ned had just arrested two men who belonged to China Joe. If you don't know China Joe, good. He ran every illegal business in Nineport, including unofficially us. No one touched his people without permission. But Ned didn't know that. He just knew the law. And then things got worse. China Joe's top man, Alex the Axe, walked in to complain. Before he even had time to finish one threat, Ned came at him. Alex shot Ned once in the chest, right through his fancy painted uniform, but Ned barely noticed. He grabbed Alex and slapped the handcuffs on, then said in a very satisfied voice, "The prisoner is wanted for armed robbery, attempted murder, and..." China Joe wasn't going to forgive that. His gang stormed the station like an angry rugby team. One even had a rocket launcher. The wall exploded, but Ned slid across the floor, grabbed the launcher, and flattened half the gang. After that, it was complete chaos. Fists, gunshots, broken noses, falling bodies. When the dust settled, everyone was down except me, Ned, and Billy the patrolman, who was hardly able to stand, but was smiling like he'd won a boxing title. And Chief Craig was dead. A single small caliber bullet, probably fired by China Joe himself. There was no time to think about it then, because I realized something. I was the only senior cop left, and although I was on China Joe's payroll, I drew the line at murder. I picked up the chief's gold badge and pinned it onto my shirt. "The new chief of police of Nineport," I announced. Ned, who was already hauling China Joe's men off to the cells, said, "Yes, sir." He put one of the thugs down long enough to salute, then went on with his work. And that was that. We hunted China Joe's crew across town. He tried to escape in a car, but Ned simply opened the hatch in his forehead. Yes, I know how that sounds, and fired a 75 recoilless cannon straight through the tires. By the end of the day, China Joe, whose real name, Ned informed me cheerfully, was something much less glamorous and not Chinese at all, was in handcuffs with enough charges to keep him in prison for the rest of his natural life. Things are quiet now. Honest even. Billy's recovered and wears my old sergeant stripes. I've started sending applications for new jobs. Nineport has become too boring, I guess. And Ned? Ned is the best policeman Nineport has ever had. At night he walks patrol. During the day he runs the lab. He keeps his badge polished and his paint touched up. Sometimes I even think he hums to himself, though it's probably just the motors. I don't know if we were the first to give a robot a full police badge, but I imagine someone will visit us one day to ask. And when they do, they'll be very surprised, because I won't be here forever. I've already got some interesting offers earthside, and when I leave, well, let's just say Nineport already knows who their next chief of police will be. This episode was inspired by the short story Arm of the Law by Harry Harrison. It was first published in Fantastic Universe in 1958. And now, let's go through some useful vocabulary you can take away from the story. Reporting for duty. If someone is reporting for duty, they are formally saying that they are ready to begin work. This phrase is often used in the police or military, but it can also be used humorously in everyday English. Example: "I'm reporting for duty. Where do you want me to start?" Harmless enough. When you say something seems harmless enough, you mean it appears safe or unthreatening, though you may not be completely certain. Example: The dog looked harmless enough, so I let it come closer. Trying far too hard. If someone is trying far too hard, they are making too much effort, often in a way that feels awkward or unnecessary. For example, he was trying far too hard to impress everyone at the meeting. Quote something from memory. To quote something from memory means to repeat it exactly without looking it up, relying only on what you remember. Example: she can quote whole scenes from her favorite film from memory. The hold-up is still happening. A hold-up is an informal word for a robbery, especially one in a shop or store. For example, the police arrived quickly because the hold-up was still happening. Anything could happen. This phrase is used to express uncertainty, especially in tense or unpredictable situations. Example: it's a dangerous road at night. Anything could happen. Didn't flinch. If someone didn't flinch, they showed no fear or reaction, even in a frightening situation. For example, the doctor didn't flinch, even when the patient started shouting. Knocked out cold. To be knocked out cold means to be made completely unconscious, usually by a blow. This phrase is informal and often used in stories. Example: he slipped on the ice and was knocked out cold for a few seconds. On someone's payroll. If someone is on another person's payroll, it means they are secretly being paid or controlled by them. For example, the reporter suspected the official was on the company's payroll. Draw the line at something. To draw the line at something means to set a clear limit on what you are willing to accept. Example: I don't mind working late, but I draw the line at weekends. Before we finish, just one quick question to think about. Nothing heavy, I promise. Imagine a world where all policemen were like Ned. Would you feel safer or run for cover? Okay, enough law and chaos for one day. Next time we leave crime, robots, and flying bullets behind and drift into something much gentler. A quiet riverbank, a small underground home, and the first warm signs of spring. In episode 7, we return to a classic and retell the opening chapter of The Wind in the Willows, a story about itchy feet, friendship, and the irresistible pull of the world beyond your front door. Until then, happy listening!